Today we're still working on factoring. We will still probably on Monday be doing some more factoring because this is a pretty important topic that we will use all year, so we need to make sure that we are good at it. Today we're going to look at a few more types of situations that we might encounter. So we have done greatest common factor, difference of squares, and trinomials. But all the trinomials we looked at were pretty similar, like your basic quadratic type. So I just want to give you some that have a few more variables. The process is the same, but they just look a little bit different to start with. So if I asked you to factor this, four a squared plus 16ab plus 15b squared. Is there a greatest common factor? No. Nothing that they all have. The first two, you have a 4a, but the last term doesn't have either one of those. So we can still do the slip and slide, even though it looks a little bit different because we have a squared and b squared. It's still similar. So we can bring down that 4. Okay, so now it's a 1a squared, so that would just break into a. You think of two numbers that multiply to a 60 and would add to 16. 10 and 6. Alright, the only difference is this 60 had a b squared with it. So what do I need to put with each of these? A b. Alright, we started out multiplying by 4, so if we divide by 4, 10 over 4 is 5 halves, so that's 5a. Oops, no. Yeah, 2a plus 5b. Okay, 6 over 4 is 3 halves, so 2a plus 3b. And we could always double check if we multiply this out, we get the original product. Who's eating lunch today? Forgot to hear. Let's do another. Do we have a greatest common factor? No. So what do we do? Slip and slide. So the 8 comes down, that leaves the x squared, y squared. 33xy plus 32. Alright, since I need x squared, y squared, what would I put for each of these? What multiplies to 32 and adds to 33? 32. This 32 didn't have any variables, so we don't have to worry about anything there. So divide by 8. 32 divided by 8 is 4. 1/8 doesn't reduce, so it'd be 8xy plus 1. Do we need more like this? Let's do this one. I'll give you guys some to try in a few minutes, but I want to talk about a couple other things. terms do we have? 4. So slip and slide is what we do with 3 terms, a trinomial. Still check, is there a greatest common factor? No. So do you guys remember how you factored with 4 terms? Grouping. So what we do is add parentheses. You have to be careful, you can't add a parenthesis like after a subtraction sign. But as long as it's an addition, we're good. So we put the first 2 together and the second 2 together. Associative property, you can add parentheses. In the first term, or the first parenthesis, what do both of those terms have? So if I factor out the x squared y, I would be left with x minus 4. The second parenthesis, what can we take out? I'm left with x minus 4. Grouping works if these parentheses are the same, and they are. So now, we have 2 terms. This is a term, and this is a term. What do both of those terms have? So we're going to take out the x minus 4. Okay, in the first term, if I took out the x minus 4, we have x squared y left. In the second term, if we take out the x minus 4, we have a 2. And that's the final answer. Does everybody see how we got there? Let's try some more like that. Alright, there's a problem here. I cannot just come in and add parentheses like this. What's wrong with that? Right. This negative, if I put a parenthesis after that, it would distribute a negative all the way through, and isn't that different than the original problem? Yes. So you can never put a parenthesis after a subtraction. Instead, before I add my parentheses, I have to think of this as plus a negative 6. And then add the parenthesis. So put that negative 6 in the parenthesis. All right, the first parenthesis, what's my greatest common factor? If we take that out, we are left with second parenthesis. What do they both have? 2p. If I take out a 2p, I'm left with negative 3x plus 2. Now I told you grouping works if these parentheses match. Do they match right now? No. Is there something I could do to make them match? What? Yeah. Let's take out that negative 2. So then if I pull out the negative, it would be a positive 3x minus 2. Now the parentheses match, so we can continue. So if I factor out the 3x minus 2, we are left with, in the first term, if I took out that parentheses, the x squared. Second term, if I take that out, minus 2p plus negative 2p. I'm going to put a couple up for you guys to try. Remember, no matter what the problem is, what do you need to look for first? Greatest common factor. So the first one, what'd you guys pull out to begin with?
GCF of 2.
Okay, so then if you do slip and slide, so we still have that 2. This would factor into not 30. No, not 30.
210.
Yep. 14 times 15. Okay. So multiply -210 and add to +11, so that would be a +21 and a -10. But each of those needs an R with it. Okay, so we have a 2. 21 over 14 is 3 over 2. 2m plus 3r. 10 over 14 is 5 over 7, so 7n minus 5r. Alright, second one. No GCF, so we can do slip and slide. What do you do with the h to the 4th?
1/7c2h².
Alright, multiply -168 and add to -2. -14, +12. Divide by 8. So 14 over 8 would be 7 over 4, so 4h² minus 7. 12 over 8 is 3 over 2, so 2h² plus 3. Last one. Before you add your parentheses, what do you have to do? We have to make this a -5, and then we can do our group. So the first one you take out a². Second one you take out -5. And if you take out the a minus 1, you are left with a² minus 5. Does a² minus 5 factor any further? No, because 5 is not a perfect square. Alright, any issues with those? One last thing we're looking at today is substitution. And I don't know, did you guys do any grouping by substitution last year? You may not have. The problems I'm going to give you right now, it can kind of be avoided, but later in the year we'll have some problems where substitution we will need in order to be able to solve them. So that's why I thought I might just give you some now. But we'll do it again later on. So worst case scenario right now, there are other ways you could solve them. If this really is confusing to you, we will hit it again later on. So sometimes you have problems, let's do this one, that looks something like this. Now probably, if I didn't tell you, if I wasn't working the problem with you, how would all of you set it up and solve it? What do you think you would do? Yeah, most of you would probably multiply it all out, combine like terms, and then factor. And that will work. Okay, so there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm just taking the chance right now to show you something that we'll use later on. The other option, this is kind of like a quadratic because you have the x plus 2 squared, the x plus 2 to the first, and then a constant. So it's kind of like those trinomials we've been factoring. What we can do is just put another letter in place of that so it looks a little less confusing. So I'm going to say u. And I'm going to let it equal that parenthesis, x plus 2. So if I replace that in my problem, every time I see an x plus 2, I'm just going to write u. So then I have 9u squared plus 3u minus 2. Does that look like something we could easily factor? Yeah, that's just a basic slip and slide problem. So you would have u squared plus 3u minus 18. So that's u plus 6, u minus 3. Divide by 9. So 6 over 9 would be 2/3. 3 over 9 is 1/3. Okay. I am not totally done though. Because this problem has u's in it, but what did my original problem have? Yeah. So now I have to undo what I did. I started out replacing my u's with my x plus 2 with a u. Now I need to go back. So this u is really an x plus 2. We're almost there. If we multiply this out, we get 3x plus 6 plus 2. 3x plus 6 minus 1. So final answer, 3x plus 8 and 3x plus 5. Did substitution really save me time on this? Probably not. You know, if you had chosen at the very beginning to multiply it all out and then do slip and slide, you would get to the exact same answer. Okay, just showing you another option. Let's do one more like this. Any questions on what I did? Probably our last problem of the day. You see that it's like a quadratic because we have something squared, that same thing to the first, and then a constant. So what would our u be on this problem? So if we sub that in, what's the problem look like? Do slip and slide. $25 times 16. 400. Multiply to 400, add to negative 40. just u minus 20 squared. But what did we replace the u with? 2a minus 1. I'm replacing this u. So we get 2a minus 21 squared. Oh, no, we don't. What did I do wrong? What did I forget? I'm gonna pretend I did it on purpose. You guys didn't catch me. I tricked you. We did slip and slide. What did I not do after my
Oh,
slip
you
and
did
slide?
fine.
Yeah, we gotta do that. Okay. So if we do that real quick. So if we divide that by 16. So 20 over 16 would be 5/4, so that's 4u minus 5 squared. So then we can replace the u. So we get 8a minus 4 minus 5, so minus 9. We're stopping here. I'm going to have you guys, we're going to finish setting up those Math Excel accounts. So I gave you your papers back. You have an account set up now. We're going to get you enrolled in the course. So we're picking up with step 4 on that.